2026 meeting of the Radnor Planning Commission. We'll begin the meeting by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the January 6, 2026 meeting. These minutes were distributed to the commissioners in advance of today's meeting. I have one clarification. This is with regard to item 4B concerning application 216038 for 126 Garrett Avenue. The minutes state that I, as the chair, made a quote motion to recommend approval with the following condition: adding curb stops perpendicular to the fence. The minutes should reflect that the condition was for quote adding curb stops for the parking spaces perpendicular to the fence. So the correction would be to add the words for the parking spaces between the words stops and perpendicular. Do any of the commissioners have any other changes to the minutes? Okay. With that, I will make a motion to approve the minutes with the clarification to item 4B and ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. The next item on the agenda is consideration of application 216463 concerning 118 to 120 North Wayne Avenue. We've received letters from Gannett Fleming dated January 26, 2026, and from Gilmore & Associated dated January 23, 2026. First, can I have a representative for the applicant come up?
Good evening, everyone. David Falcone here on behalf of the applicant. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Falcone. I'll just note before we begin that after reviewing the consultant letters, there seems to be more work that needs to be done.
That's correct.
Okay.
I would agree. Yes.
Okay. And that's going to include cleaning up the plans and addressing certain issues, including providing a lighting plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In addition to that, I see that there's some issues with regard to the green roof and with stormwater, and at the very least, I think we should address that at least preliminarily at this session before we move on.
I think that sounds like a very good idea.
Okay.
Yes.
So please take it away.
Okay. I'll turn it over to my engineer to talk a little bit about that, with the full understanding that we know there's more discussions that have to happen with the Township engineering group as we move kind of into this green roof concept. But I will turn it over to the engineer to discuss the green roof and some general concepts there, with the understanding that we know we have some work to do on that.
Good evening, John Anderson of Cornerstone Consulting. Are you familiar enough with the project so I don't have to go through what is?
Just make a brief outline of,
Sure.
of your project.
So this project, obviously, it's located 118 to 20 North Wayne Avenue. It's an existing commercial facility. Located on the first floor is a restaurant and also a dry cleaner. The proposal for, and just to point out that almost the entire property is covered by a building. So this is 100% impervious coverage. There's no stormwater management, located in the existing conditions. So part of our challenge in an urban development is to obviously improve the site, but also improve it from a stormwater perspective. So just to reiterate, on the first floor will also be the restaurant and a retail space. Behind the building here, on ground level, underneath a portion of the building, will be 4 parking spaces, a trash area, some egress, stairwells, and so forth, and entrances.
And just curious, currently with the way the building is sitting, is there an alley behind the building?
Correct. So alley is accessed So along North Wayne Avenue, there is a 13-plus wide alley that comes off of North Wayne Ave, comes to the back of the next 4 buildings or properties, and then we access it as you turn left into the back alley area to the back of our building. This is an existing area. There's an easement associated with it. All 5 facilities utilize this back area for back of house type of stuff, trash, some parking, and so forth.
Okay, so the area right behind the building as it sits now, there is some alleyway parking area?
The existing building for our project extends all the way back to the property.
Okay, so at this point, there is no parking or alleyway behind your building?
That is correct.
And with the reconstruction of this property, there will be?
Underneath the second floor, which would be ground floor, obviously, accessing from the first floor, there's an exit to the back of this area. There's also a stairwell system. But yes, the ground floor will be underneath the building, and we'll be able to access 4 parking spaces and an enclosed trash area.
Okay, so as the building is configured right now, all of the rain and, water that accumulates on the building is going where?
Based on my understanding, it's going out the back through roof leaders into this neighboring property.
So it's, all of the water is being currently diverted out the back end of the property onto the adjoining properties there? That's
based on how I've been able to figure out where the stormwater is going, unless the architect has indicated that you know more than I do.
No, John's correct.
So
Okay.
it's coming out the back of the building. So the neighboring property, there's a parking area back here. The roof leaders come off. There's a side roof leader. There's another one in the back. There's a sumped inlet in this area, but it's an asphalt parking area that is not on it's not our property. I don't know of any easements through here. There's an apartment building complex in this location, and there's a parking area. And there's a drive lane that extends along the back of the building.
Okay, and you're saying there's an inlet?
There's an inlet in the parking area off of here that I believe is where the stormwater is being collected.
Okay.
So there's a second floor to this, which would be office, and then the third floor would be 4 residential units.
Okay.
So on top of the building, in order to address stormwater concerns to the best of our ability, you will note that there are waivers that we are requesting with regards to stormwater, and obviously you want us to discuss that with the township, and that's fine. But what we're proposing is a green roof area, and that's what's symbolized in this green area and hatching. There are roof decks associated with the residential units that are non-hatched areas, and you can see them towards the back of the building. There's a pilot house in this location, but also a roof deck, another roof deck along the lower side, and then along the front along North Wayne Avenue, there's another roof deck. But the green area is going to be a green roof associated with this project.
Okay.
And that's basically how we're trying to address the stormwater concern, by reducing the peak rate of runoff that's coming off this building.
Okay, so innovative, that's interesting. Do you think that that is going to take much of the water, away from it going either off the front or the back of the building?
So the way we've looked at where the stormwater will eventually end up is towards the front along North Wayne Avenue, and either just what we're showing right now is discharging into the pavement area of North Wayne. North Wayne Avenue drops from basically in a southerly direction down to the corner of Lancaster Avenue, and there's an inlet on that corner. So what we're trying to do is mitigate the peak runoff by adding a green roof, which will allow for collection of stormwater, absorption into the soil media, evapotranspiration, and so forth. And what it does is it allows us to look at, we don't count it as totally as grass, because we understand that there's impervious coverages underneath that water will drain through and discharge through. So, but we do look at it as a lower surface coefficient than a roof itself. So through the calculations that we submitted, we're showing that we will show a peak rate reduction. We'll also show that from the we're not increasing the stormwater, we'll be decreasing the stormwater. And there's some value with water quality components and storage components in the green medium that's on the roof.
So one thing that's interesting with what you're saying is currently all of the water is going off the back of the property, going to the inlet behind your property.
That's correct.
With this design, all of the water is going to go in the front of the property and go onto North Wayne.
Yeah.
Which is totally, that's now moving new water onto North Wayne that never existed.
That's correct.
So that's a big change.
It's a big change, but most likely the inlet that's behind the apartment building, the only way it has to go is south into Lancaster Avenue and the collection in Lancaster. So eventually it's going to the same point. I understand your concern that we're diverting water into a different location. And
Well, it's going on, instead of going into, what you're saying is a parking lot with an inlet, it would now be going into the front of the building onto North Wayne, flowing down North Wayne, either, stopping at an inlet, I guess, at the corner of,
well, that's what we've been able to, along the frontage of North Wayne Avenue, a lot of the buildings, the roof runoff comes through downspouts that tie directly into the concrete. And there is evidence, Great American Pub has evidence that they have trench drains that come across and discharge into the pavement area. There's other similar situations. The property to the north of us, I believe there's a downspout that ties directly through the face of curb into the asphalt area. And then as we get further south along the frontage of those buildings, I don't know where they tie into. They discharge through a pipe in the concrete pavement, and then I don't know where they go. So I'm not talking about our building. I'm talking about just trying to find evidence for how roof runoff in this area is collected and discharged. It eventually all has to drain plan south to Lancaster Avenue and into the collection system. But we'd be happy to sit down with the township staff and the engineer's office and further figure this out.
okay. So question, it doesn't look like you're saying you've done any testing of the soil either in the front or the back of the property?
For infiltration? So typically infiltrating underneath a building is, even if we found soils that were adequate for infiltrating underneath a building, unless we've done infiltration in parking garages and stuff where where you have an open areas and your footings can extend down, typically we wouldn't infiltrate underneath the building.
So I'm not talking so much infiltrating under the building, but either infiltrating in your parking area behind what will be the building? Maybe you can't do that yet, I don't know.
So rule of thumb that we look at either through the City of Philadelphia and other ordinances, it's not really contained within Radnor's ordinance, but in the City of Philadelphia, usually we stay 15 feet off of structural foundation components, either piers and footings or perimeter foundations for buildings. We'll stay 15 feet off. And so what we find is that there's not a lot of area for that. But we can talk to the structural engineer for the project and look into those. And typically what we do is we extend the footings down below any type of infiltration component. But usually the soils are compacted so severely that we don't get infiltration rates underneath the building.
Okay.
But to answer your question, again, the existing building extends the entire property. So no, we haven't tested inside the footprint.
So tell me, are there any other places where such a system could be put?
Not on our property.
What about in front of your property?
So in front of our property, so this is the curb line for North Wayne Avenue. You have the decorative paver strip, and then you have the sidewalk, and then that's the building line. So we would be the ultimate right-of-way, which is part of the comments within the review letter that most likely we will offer, not most likely, but we'll offer for dedication between the legal and the ultimate. So there is areas in the sidewalk area. However, there's significant amount of electrical lines and water lines and so forth in that area. It's probably not conducive to providing infiltration or additional storage underneath the sidewalk.
What about and I'm just asking you.
No, go ahead.
What about in the parking area?
We can explore that. We'd have to somehow test within the building to see if there's any infiltration. However, We would have to get pretty good infiltration rates to be able to provide and meet the stormwater requirements of the township in order to show that the water is percolating into the ground system and not being detrimental and basically not infiltrating. Now, the other avenue that you can go down is providing a stormwater cistern, we'll call it a cistern, or a chamber or something underneath the building. The problem is we don't have a discharge point either to the back or the front of our property that we would be able to positively discharge out the water. Stormwater is very difficult to pump and control through mechanical means, and so we would highly look at gravity as a way to do that.
Okay. And let me just ask, if you put it out in the parking area and it kind of, accumulated there, it could, I guess, go one of two places. Either it could maybe go, into the ground at that point, or it could fill up and at that point then spill down North Wayne?
Yeah, so we have a significant, go ahead.
Can I, Dan Chilino, architect with Radnor Architects. It's just really not good practice to dump water so close to your building like that. Additionally, there's a retaining wall about 15 feet that follows this edge of property here. So we can't just dump a bunch of water that is in such proximity to that retaining wall because it would affect the integrity of it.
Where do you mean dump that?
You're talking about infiltrating at the
That was the
parking
first
lot.
question. Could you infiltrate in that parking area?
Yeah, it's just not good practice to do
Okay.
that close to the building
Okay.
and particularly that close to the retaining wall.
Okay. So then the next question was, could you put a system in front of the building, which could handle at least some water to some extent?
We haven't been able to find that there's we haven't been able to find any stormwater piping along our frontage that we'd be able to tie into. Now, there may be records that the township has that we weren't privy to, but we can explore that. There's just not a significant amount of area to put a chamber underneath there. There's existing underground electrical lines that extend underneath that sidewalk. That
right.
provide service to those buildings.
Okay.
So
Okay.
PECO's going to want a separation from those electrical lines
Yeah.
and for maintenance and for upgrade if need be.
Sure.
They're located, you can see these boxes and stuff. Those are the probably, they're not only just electrical, but they're also communication cables and stuff.
Okay. Let me just ask, could I call in the township engineer for a moment?
Sure.
So-
For the applicant, I think part of what we're doing here is, the waivers are listed, we know that, but the planning commission wants to make sure you guys have gone through every option, right? And that's what the discussion is. Can you put something in the back? Can you put, maybe, they might all not be feasible, right? But we want the discussion to see what you can do. And we understand fully that although the project doesn't meet the ordinance, it is better as proposed, as it was in the past, all due to the green roof. But for their benefit, for our benefit, for the residents, this is the first building that's getting redeveloped on North Wayne Avenue. We know we have no conveyance out there. We're fully aware of that. But we want you to do your due diligence to go through with staff, because ultimately this is a Board of Commissioners decision, right, to get that waiver. And want to make sure that the Planning Commission, staff, our team is all fully vetted on what you've looked at, what you haven't looked at, what can't work. Okay, we understand your concern about being in proximity to the building. Maybe the parking lot can or can't work, and if it can, to what degree? What's the delta do we get out of that? So really just asking you to do some work to show us so that we can meet, and then when you come back to the Planning Commission, we can say we've discussed all this, yes, no, 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 whatever it may be, right? As opposed to just seeing the waiver letter. That's really what the exercise and discussion tonight is about.
So, Mr. Norsini, let me ask you one question. The water currently is going to the property behind 118. Would there be any potential, would one area to look at be potentially putting a system in behind the property, even if it's on an adjoining property?
So they have their attorney, Dave Falcone, here, because there's a lot of legal questions here,
Sure.
right? So the property's been draining there for years. Is there a benefit to them obtaining a formal easement to do so, and what would it do? Does that mean like there's some type of small system in the back that the overflow goes to that inlet? I don't know. These are all I mean, I understand your idea, and it thought of that too when the engineer noted that's where it's draining now. But these are the things we need you folks to flesh out for us. And it's not just so it's not feasible, or if it is feasible, what's the benefit, what's the delta? Because it could be a lot of work for a very minimal improvement, or maybe there is. We don't know. We're going to depend on you to meet with myself and Roger and go through this, and then that way, when it comes back before this commission and ultimately to the board, a lot of these things have been vetted out.
Okay.
So I'll just expound on where we find ourselves with green roofs and so forth.
Sure.
City of Philadelphia has done an extraordinary amount of work on trying to figure this issue out. Obviously, or maybe you're not aware of this, but the majority of, not the majority, but a lot of the city of Philadelphia is in a situation where they have combo sewers. They have stormwater and sanitary that discharges into the same pipe, and it all goes to the same treatment facility. So it'd be trillions and trillions of dollars to separate that all out. So what they've done is it's been pretty innovative on changing their ordinances for infill developments, or redevelopments, I'm sorry, not infill, but redevelopments of this sort. And so that's where we get ourselves with green roofs and other interesting types of stormwater management proposals. And when we meet with them, I can share how City of Philadelphia's addressed properties that are 100% impervious. And so they have like a 95% green type of ordinance. You know, we can explore that some.
Yeah, I totally get, the green ordinance and so forth, but
I'm just pointing it out
I
there.
think it's a negligible,
Absolutely.
The amount of water that it actually addresses.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to be
It's negligible.
argumentative. I'm just trying to say that we've done a significant amount of work in urban areas of redevelopment, and we'd be happy to meet with the township staff and so forth.
And I think that's the request here, right?
Yeah.
Is that you show your work to us as well as the BOC, obviously,
Absolutely.
because they're going to ask the same question.
Yep.
Thanks.
And to the extent that there actually is a potential solution, explore it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, especially if the water's all going in the back of the property now, maybe there is a potential for putting in a system behind you that would take care of the water if you continue to drain it in that way.
Yep.
May I see the roof plan one more time? I'm trying to understand the cutout. So are those light wells?
They're just
Into the
roof-
penthouse?
So they're just roof deck areas associated with the residential component, and I'll let Dan talk about that.
Yeah, you're looking at a roof plan from the top level. So this roof deck here, this one, and this one are all at the floor of level 3. And then above that is this large green area, and then this white area here.
So that's the bulkhead that sticks out?
That's the bulkhead right here, and then spot for mechanical equipment.
Oh, I see, okay. So that's, the bulkhead is how you would access the green roof and service it and maintain it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
there would, pilot house for the elevator, but there would be a hatch
Okay,
on top of the stair.
okay.
And with the roof deck, is that water just spilling off of the decking, or is that going somewhere?
No, that would be part of an internal drainage system that would then eventually get to its ultimate destination,
Wherever it's
whether it's at
going.
front of Wayne or, yeah.
Okay. So I guess we would ask that you look at all options and see if there are some solutions potential to address the water. Come back, clean up the plans, get the lighting plan, and address anything else that needs to be addressed. The cleaner the letter is, the easier it is to address overall.
Yeah, I'd like to push back a little. So when I was running Plan Philly, we covered a lot of things Philly was doing with green roofs. And I looked at your specs, the specifications, and my reaction was you could with some systems, you could capture a lot more water. I'm not saying you have to do it or should do it, but I'm just saying that Philly's using this blue-green system with solar now, where they actually retain a lot more of the stormwater, and they put it into cooling chambers, and during the summer, it helps cool buildings. And the capacity of that system is where you have, 3 inches of veg sedum, basically. They have, maybe 6 inches or 13 inches. According to your specs, your 1 inch retention and maximum capacity, at maximum water capacity, you have 1 inch retention, but you could, with a blue-green system, you could go a lot bigger than that. It's more expensive, obviously. And I just looked at some other specs, and your system is it seems downsized to where, look, you're trying to capture as much water as you can, so you have 30 mil membrane. 30 mil is pretty thin membrane. Like Philly's 60 is their minimum for the membrane in the roof system. So, I just think that, that they say your load was, I think you said your maximum load was 20 pounds per square foot. And with the snow we just had, which was 9 inches, the load would have been 60 to 70 pounds per square inch.
I'm not saying that's not a label to say what the roof has capacity to handle. That's the loading of the green roof system. So the structural engineer would have to design the roof system not only for snow loads, dead loads, live loads, but also the additional loading of the green roof.
Mr. Anderson, could you just come up?
It's just an indication of the loading of the green roof system, not the capacity of the roof itself.
Okay, but if I can follow something Steve Norsini said, this is really the first project, in downtown Wayne to take this on, right? So if I was doing this, I'd want to make it the best. I'd want to make it a model like roof, like stormwater, water retention roof, because everyone's going to be paying attention to it, and it's like you guys would be the leader of the pack, man. So I just think that I would take the opportunity to give the engineers bigger numbers for retention, because I think people say, oh, green roof's not going to work, but they sort of do if they're big enough.
Okay.
So I guess just jumping on what Commissioner Golas just said, I guess to the extent that you increase, addressing the water through the roof, then you have less to address outside of the roof, whether it's in a, front or back.
Sure.
Okay, so given all of that, Mr. Falcone, how is it that you want to proceed?
So I think what we'd like to do is clean up the letters, meet with staff, explore some additional options, and then come back to you all and see where we are at that point.
Okay,
And hopefully we've got a shorter letter and some different options for you guys to consider, and we'll see where we are.
good. So at this point, are you requesting that this be tabled?
Yes, please.
Okay. At this point, do we have any more staff comment or questions? Do we have any more comments or questions from the commission? Yes.
I missed this the other week when we were looking at Garrett Avenue, but with all the snow that we've just had, what's it look like behind the Tiger Shop and et cetera? How much has been removed, if any? How is trash getting in and out? What happens if there's a fire, so to speak? How bad is it?
Hi, Joe Smogard, owner, builder. I worked with my tenants to pay for snow removal. I haven't been to the property, so I can't answer. I got photos that the front sidewalk was all cleaned off the day it was actually snowing, so I got that. I didn't ask for photos of the back. So I know I worked with my tenants to make sure and pay everything. All the snow was removed, so that's the best
I'm
I
just
can answer.
looking, unless it got trucked away, it must be on the adjacent property owner or something like that. Just not enough space, especially when that much came down. Like half the streets in Philly may not be fully cleared either, and But we don't live there, we live in Radnor.
So interestingly, though, Skip, I think our situation is probably very different because our building covers the entire parcel. It's more, I think, probably what the neighbors are doing with their snow.
No, I wasn't, I was just curious about the general situation.
Yeah,
because
I think it's a
know
good
your
question.
building, it covers it all.
I think it's a good question. I've never been back there in my life, but I
I
have to
have.
imagine a foot of snow doesn't make it better.
I haven't been back since it snowed, but, I went back with Dave after the June meeting, and it's kind of cramped right now in the first place. It's really tight.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff happening back there, trash and cars.
He says he no longer parks there because he got hit a couple of times and he gave up on that.
Yeah. Yep. I think everything you're saying makes a lot of sense. I'm sure that driveway is not great. My driveway isn't great, and we worked hard on that. So, I'm sure they worked
My
hard there
bet
too.
it
I'm
was
just thinking there
worse
was less
on your driveway.
room.
Okay, do we have any other commissioner comment? Do we have any comment from the public? Okay. So with that, I am going to move to recommend that this issue be tabled. This is application 216-463 regarding 118 to 120 North Wayne Avenue. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Thank you all.
Thank
See in
you.
a month or two.
So, Mr. Norsini, do we have a guest that you want to introduce?
Thank you, Mr. President. We do. So to my left, well, you know this whole team, and Trish, everybody knows Trish, of course, but we have Sam Thomas. He came to us about 2 weeks ago. He is our new Economic Development Manager. He'll be working throughout the township, not just Wayne, but all the business areas to that end. And he came here tonight to start to see what's going on through our application process and what's coming in, and you'll probably see him at other meetings. Also, I might as well plug, February 5th, we have a town hall here in this room, exact room, on the Wayne Business Master Plan. So, two things I wanted to talk about. Sam Thomas, welcome aboard, and please come to our February 5th town hall. You do need to register to come, and it's on the website. So, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, and welcome, Sam. So just to join in what Mr. Norsini was saying, I do want to make another short plug for the Wayne Business Overlay District Master Plan. As many of you know, the Radnor Township is developing a master plan for downtown Wayne, which has been dubbed a vision for Wayne and will serve as a roadmap for decisions on housing, historic preservation, open space, mobility, design, and land use, among other things. The stated goal is to create a clear, existing, and realistic vision for improving downtown. The project is being led by the Radnor Township Board of Commissioners with their consultant, Adam Texa, of Urban Design Project Manager at FHI Studio. The website for the project is www.avisionforwayne.com. And if you go to the website, you can sign up for news and updates. You can access resource materials. You can take a survey. So at this point, I will note that the next meeting is February 5th, 2026 for the Downtown Wayne Workshop. Thursday from 6:30 to 8:30 here at the Township Municipal Building, 301 Ivan Avenue. So stay tuned and stay informed. The next meeting of the Planning Commission is scheduled for March 2nd, 2026. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good evening.
We're not getting seen down here. We have to be more seen.